Okay, so we'll get started. First, the thank yous. Allie is working, she's our honors college advisor, but she's also working on her master's degree here at Tarleton. And part of one of her courses is she needed an internship. And so she partnered with me in order to do the collaborations. So she's done a bulk of the work on these. So thank you to her. And thank you to everyone else for being able to make it here today, and to our alums. And I just want to explain a little bit about what this is. So it's the college collaboration. And sometimes on the outside looking in, it looks like you're either in the honors college or you're in the college of education. But in reality, you're in both, y'all. But you're in both. And so we share these students. And so we're trying to strengthen that relationship. And we're just very, very proud of our alums and where they are. And we'd like to hear what y'all are doing. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves. You'll do a far better job than I will. And then we will just.
All right. Okay, awesome. Well, I'll go first. My name is Cheryle Stenmark, and I graduated from Tarleton PhD program in 2003. So it's weird to that's over 20 years ago. I got my bachelor, a BS in psychology. And then I went to graduate school at the University of Oklahoma, and my field that I got my master's and PhD in is called industrial organizational psychology. That's a lot of syllables, so we usually just abbreviate it IO psychology. And I graduated from OU in 2010, and since then I have been teaching at Angelo State University in their IO psychology master's program. I also teach at least one undergrad class per semester, and I'm now the director of the IO psychology master's program, although it has a different name now. We're calling it, something else. I'll get to that. I know none of you are psychology. Are any of the people who came in after we were talking about that, are either of you guys psychology or okay?
We're working on it.
Has anyone in here ever heard of the field industrial organizational psychology?
So I've heard of organizational, but not it paired with industrial.
Okay, so not very many people have heard of biopsychology. Most people who think of the psychology field, they think of clinical psychology or counseling psychology, the ones that are on TV, therapists, working with individual patients. That's not what I do. So when I tell people I'm in psychology, they always, think I'm psychoanalyzing them or something. I'm like, no, that's not, I don't have any expertise in that. I don't know if you're crazy. Not any more than any of you guys know if someone's crazy. So before I tell you, although this is kind of a hint, what IO psychology is, I want you to think about jobs you have had, jobs you want to have, your favorite job you've ever had, your least favorite job you've ever had, your dream job, and think about why. What did you like or not like about those jobs? And I could think about, sometimes I go around the room and ask people to share. So maybe everybody doesn't have to share if they don't want to, but would anyone like to tell us any of these three things, favorite, least favorite, or dream job, and why? Because the why part is
Well, my dream job is a wealthy recluse, and I feel like it's self-explanatory.
yes, good. That's good. And a lot of people, so I've had people say, I don't dream about work. A job is not my dream, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some people their job is what they do to survive. That's what they do to have, money and a house and clothes. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some people, their meaning of life is their work, and that's also very cool. I will say, so I'm in my favorite job. Why I really like, I feel like I like helping my students. I like helping them learn and discover IO psychology, because a lot of them have never heard it until they talk to me and take my class. And a really cool thing about IO psychology that we're going to talk about is I think it applies to anyone who has ever had a job or plans to have a job. So that's most people. Dream job, if I was not a psychology professor, I think I would enjoy being like a party planner. I like planning, I like organizing. And I mean, who doesn't like parties? I like decorating. So I think that would be my dream job. And honestly, I don't even think I've had a least favorite job, because I always had the pleasure of having good jobs. I was an RA in the residence halls when I was here at Tarleton. Would anyone else, before I move on, want to share about any jobs that they've had? Right, or just
Addison, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, so being a nurse, I was an ER tech at Baylor Scott Urban. So it's been my favorite job so far. Dream job honestly is going to be emergency pediatrics, just from the experiences I've had with peds patients and just the environment of the emergency room. It's kind of where I thrive.
awesome, very cool. All right, so what is IO psychology and why am I having you think about talk about your jobs? That's because IO psychology is about work. It's about employees. It's about the organizational part. We're talking about businesses, like organizations. IO psychology, it's hard to tell, but I've italicized scientific study and professional practice. So we're using psychological theories, psychological research principles, psychological research methods to applying those to solve problems in the work world. So an analogy that I often give, because most people are familiar with clinical and counseling psychology, I say clinical and counseling psychologists, their customers or their patients, or I don't even know what they are. This is how far removed I am from clinical and counseling psychology. I don't even know what to call them. Patients, clients, I don't know. They deal with one person, an individual, and they find out what is troubling that person, what their problems are, and they come up with solutions together. They come up with some sort of an intervention, a therapy, and then implement the intervention and see if it worked, evaluate, have kind of this cyclical process to help this individual person. IO psychologists do this for organizations, for a business. So at the group and organizational level, if an organization comes to an IO psychology consultant and says, hey, we're having trouble, our employees are not motivated, or our employees are not performing well, or we have a lot of turnover, our employees keep quitting, the IO psychologist would go into the organization and talk to people and figure out what the problems are, potential problems are, and come up with some interventions to help to fix the problems, implement them, and then evaluate if it worked or not. So improving organizations, improving both effectiveness and like performance and bottom line stuff. We know that that's what the organization cares about ultimately. But IO psychologists also really care about the people in the organization. So IO psychologists want to make sure that the people, the employees, are happy and productive. So IO psychology, the two parts are important, and that's why we usually keep both of them, the I and the O, because the industrial side is kind of the more management side, the more technical work topics like recruiting employees, selection. That's a technical term for hiring someone, but we use the word selection because that implies that we have a group of people and we are selecting from. Technically, like in the technical IO world, hiring means you only have the number of applicants or the number of positions that you have to fill. So you're just taking everyone. You're not being selective. So IO term there. Compensation, how much to pay people, performance appraisal, how to evaluate people. I'm sure you all have noticed that performance appraisal is really hard. It's really hard to do it well. It's really hard to do it in a way that is motivating to employees to help them to do better, to perform better. And nobody likes it. So that's why we need IO psychologists for reasons like that, because we can use research and theory and think of better, more effective ways to do all of these organizational processes. So that's the industrial side. I personally, and you'll find this with IO psychologists, they tend to have their little pet areas that they like the best. I personally am more of an organizational person. This is the more psyche type stuff, the more that the stuff that's about the people, the employees. So things like socialization, that's when you first join an organization, how to get the person like acculturated into the organization, motivating people, dealing with stress, and things like leadership. Of course, there are more than that, but those are just a few examples. And then IO psychology has specializations. So we've got these two main areas. And as I mentioned, also kind of another taxonomy of categories is the science and the practice. So some people in IO psychology are more research oriented, and some are more like the ones that are actually going into the organizations and making these changes, doing the practice part. But within that, you can also have other specializations like, and this also gives you an idea of what are the types of things that IO psychologists do in organizations. So selection and placement, that is picking the right people for the right jobs. And this is actually one of the foundational areas of IO psychology. There's something that we call a job analysis, and we analyze a job to find out what are all of the behaviors, what are the tasks, what are all of the things that you have to do in order to be successful in this job. And then using psychological principles, we figure out what are the characteristics of the right person. What are the characteristics of the person that would make a person be successful in this job? And then we use that information to select people into the right jobs where they're going to be ideally happy and productive. Then of course, training and development, that's another aspect that's of work that's really important. Training employees to do their jobs, to improve on their jobs, developing people so that they can advance into the organization. Performance appraisal, this is an entire area. We have a whole class on performance appraisal because it's really hard to get it right. Thinking about jobs that you've had in the past, like how can you tell if someone is successful or not? Are there quantifiable, measurable behaviors that they can do, or some type of a measurable product? A lot of jobs don't have anything they don't make a certain number of things. And it's just can be really difficult to evaluate if someone is doing their job well or not. And so there are 6 areas. So these are the other 3. Organization development. So this is generally making usually larger scale changes in an organization. This could be changing organizational culture. If like the culture has gotten kind of negative or toxic, you can make cultural changes. You can actually change the structure of an organization. And ultimately, again, trying to make people happy, job satisfaction, ineffective. Quality of work life is really important. This is making people happy at work, helping people to be motivated to do their jobs. Healthy, like reducing stress, having a healthy workload, things like that. And then ergonomics is really only kind of tangentially related. There's another related field called industrial engineering, which was actually one of the predecessors to what eventually became IO psychology. And this is about, I'm sure you've all heard of the ergonomics. I'm talking about your typical, what you think of as ergonomics, making tools, equipment, the physical work setting conducive to the way that people, humans, use it to where, you know, it helps with like health and physical, like reducing strain and things like that. So people who want to have a job in IO psychology, first of all, they tend to get bachelor's degrees in psychology, but they don't have to. It could be in business, or really it can be in almost any other field. But then you have to, in almost all IO psychology jobs, you need a master's or a PhD. And there are 4 main areas where IO psychologists work, although I think it's very applicable across almost any field in any industry. But the 4 main areas: academia, so teaching in universities, teaching in higher education, that's what I do. Consulting is, these are the IO psychology rock stars. Like, these are the really cool people that travel and they have the glamorous life and they've got the paycheck to match. These are the ones, they generally work for consulting firms, although they could be individual consultants. They are who organizations call when they have problems. And you can probably imagine that organizations are willing to pay consulting firms a lot of money to fix their problems and make their employees more productive, for sure. And hopefully they also care about that happiness as well. Then we have private sector. So we're just generally working in businesses. IO psychologists often work in HR departments, because, you know, HR has a role in selection and placement and compensation and training and, you know, all of those IO psychology things. So actually a lot of my alumni who graduate from my master's program work in HR. Really cool. One of my students recently got a job at like the Rolex headquarters in their HR department. I mean, how cool is that? Also, a lot of IO psychologists work in the government. So particularly organizations like police departments, fire departments, it's really important to make sure you're getting the right people in those positions. I have people that I graduated with from my PhD program who went on to work for the FBI and the CIA. I know people who work at NASA and they do research on astronauts, because as you can imagine, so the astronauts, you know, they go up and they live in, I believe their castle is like about the size of this room. And it's like a team of whatever, 3, 4, 5 people. And so they do research on team composition to see what are the types of personalities, skills, you know, what are the personal characteristics that we need for the people that whatever their tasks are they're completing. I don't know what astronauts do, but making sure that they can both do the task and work together as a team for 6 months, a year, whatever, when they're isolated on, you know, the moon or something in space. That's scary. So you want people that you can, you know, count on. So yeah, lots of cool jobs in IO psychology. But really, I mean, you can get any sort of a management job. Is having an IO psychology background will help you because you understand what makes people happy, what motivates people, what are effective leadership skills and behaviors. The median salary as of 2022, and this actually, the citation for this is ONET. I put a link in there because I didn't know what kind of time we had, but I would show you ONET if we have time, because if I had any musical talent, I would write a love song to ONET because it's a very cool website that's very helpful. But that's like the national average, and that's taking into account all of the different fields of biopsychology. Obviously, it varies a lot. I can assure you that the academics are not making $140,000 a year. The consultants are really driving that median up, for sure. They can make like 6 figures. This is another categorization that includes nonprofits for work settings. So in this one, private sector is including both consultants and like the businesses that I have on the previous slide. So most people with a master's work in the private sector, and you can be a very highly paid consultant with a master's degree in IO psychology, and most PhDs work in academia. Okay, good. I'm not too far on behind on time. I can talk more about IO psychology if we have time and if people are interested, but I did want to leave you all, especially the students who maybe are not as sure about what you want to be when you grow up, what you want to do. I think and this is my opinion, but some of it is based on research. I think it's kind of a misconception that there is one perfect job, one perfect career field for everyone. And once you find it, like, that's, your purpose in life is to find your one thing, like what you're meant to do. But I don't believe that there's one perfect job for everyone. So even if you're not interested in IO psychology, I hope to at least leave you with a little bit of advice that I think is more optimistic, because honestly, like find your perfect career, that may sound kind of optimistic on the face of it, but if you really look at it, it suggests that if you haven't found your perfect career, like you're kind of screwed. Like what do I do? Like I haven't found it yet. There's not one perfect career, I think. You can change your mindset, a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. The fixed mindset is find your one perfect career. Growth mindset is I can develop interests. I can change jobs. I can change majors. I can change career fields. I can explore and see what's going to work best for you. You can develop interests, you can develop passions. Like people think passions, like it's got to be something that you're born with, right? Like you were born to be an IO psychologist or something. But I don't think that's the way it is. I think we, find our place, we figure out things that we like, and we can work toward that and develop that interest. So I think it has motivational implications. If you think there's one key thing that you're supposed to be doing with your life and you haven't found it yet, that's a real bummer and might make you not feel particularly motivated. But if you think there's still something out there that would interest you, then that I think can help with motivation. It also helps with innovation. You can be creative, figure out what you want to do in your job. And I would say what you want to do with your job, because your job isn't necessarily equate to your life. So what you do with your life is not necessarily your job, your work, your career. And I think there's another cliche that people say, if you love your job, you never work a single day in your life or something like that. And that's cute. But I think I want people to know that at least in my experience, you're not going to 100% love your job every day. You're not going to love every aspect of your job, but that does not mean, if you didn't want to come to school today or come to work today, that doesn't mean you're in the wrong job. Doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I didn't love my job today. I must be in the wrong career field because I'm supposed to never work a day in my life. I love my job. But I liked this, something that someone said at a faculty assembly a few years ago. I think she was getting ready to retire. She said what she was looking for when trying to decide if it was time for her to retire yet was three bad days in a row at work. So not just one bad day at work doesn't mean that you're in the wrong job, you're in the wrong field. It means you have a bad day, and that's completely normal and natural. Her criteria was 3 bad days in a row. I haven't ever counted my bad days, so I don't know how reasonable that criterion is. But just keeping in mind that if on balance, if overall you like what you do, and again, it doesn't have to be your whole life. It doesn't have to, your job doesn't have to be the one thing that you're meant for in your existence. But if you like it, then you're probably in a good place. Just one more thing that I was gonna come back to, Jerica said that her dream would be to be a recluse. Okay, work,
Wealthy originally.
yes, yeah, you gotta have money, of course. Your work doesn't have to be your dream. It doesn't have to be the most important, I keep saying that, it doesn't have to be the most important thing in your life, but when you compare, if you compare your job, if you compare your work to like vacation or like being in a forest mansion, surrounded by Disney animals, then yeah, your job might not compare very well in that comparison. But if you think about your job and you compare it to other jobs, then you're like, okay, well, yeah, I would rather be doing this than being a veterinarian, or whatever, I don't know, whatever your other potential options are. So that's another thing to think about. If you like your job, if you're happy in your job, maybe don't compare your job to sleeping in on the weekends, because everybody loves that. That's gonna win every time, in the job comparison. But if you think about, how does my job compare to other possible jobs I could have, that can also help you to figure out if you're in the right job, in the right place, in the right field. And yes, so that's all I have.
And we will have time for questions at the end. I forgot to do that in my little spiel. And I also wanted to introduce a couple folks who joined us. So Dr. Sloan, the Dean of College of Education, and then Janice, over here.
Janice, I went to Italy with.
Yes, okay, perfect. All right, I just wanted to introduce them real quick.
You build things on Canva and then try to put it on PowerPoint, doesn't always mesh super well, so formatting right before I lose my mind. So while she's fixing my formatting errors, I'll go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about myself. So my name is Estes. I graduated through PHP in 2018 with a bachelor's in science and political science. I'm planning to be a coach and a teacher. Like every coach and teacher, I was certified to teach history and was really excited about that. So came back in 2020, right when COVID was about to start, thankfully, and started my master's degree, which was really nice for me because it made life a lot easier. I got to stay home the whole first semester and did really well in all my classes because of that. Started off really well and graduated in 2021 with my master's in educational leadership. So I was a teacher and a coach for 5 years, and this is my first year as an assistant principal at a middle school in Alvarado, Texas, so just down 67. So there's some great pictures of me that I can show you guys in a second. Oh, look, there you go. That's me. So so I'm a Tarleton legacy. Okay, my whole family graduated from Tarleton, except for this is my brother-in-law. We don't really count him in the family yet because he hasn't got a Tarleton degree. But this is my wife, my mom, dad, and sister. Between the 5 of us, we have 11 degrees from Tarleton and plan to get more. But my wife here is a phenomenal place. I have so much love for this town and this community that Tarleton is. I love that it has a different zip code from Stephenville, because as someone that grew up in Alvarado, I hate Stephenville in general. I hate it. And so the fact that it's 76402 means a lot to me, and proudly represent Tarleton State, but not Stephenville, Texas. So just
talk about the shirts.
yeah, so so just some things I really appreciate about the Honors College. I got into the Honors College for 3 reasons: the scholarships, the dorms, and Coach Clifford, or Dr. Clifford, as some of you may know him. So he coached my father in tennis back whenever he was in school in the 90s, and so kind of knew him as a family friend already. And so I had a chance to come be a part of his program, and that was great. What I didn't realize I was going to get from the Honors College was kind of a much better understanding of what a well-rounded education looks like, and how we can utilize that in our everyday lives. And that's something that I didn't prepare for. I was ready for the nice storms. I knew this was being built. I got to open the storm up back in 2016 that fall, whenever it opened up at an apartment. It was wonderful. And that's why I got in the honors college, but I got that extra experience. And this is why I've been. This is my best friend. Best man away. We made some shirts with Dr. Clifford's face on it because all I ever talked about was Italy. If you've ever talked to Dr. Clifford, you might know that. So just some great things. Got to play lacrosse here. If you knew him, he's somewhere over here. Coach Webb, he would have been on that team with us. So great experiences, Tarleton. Love the place. It's an honor to come back and have an opportunity to be here with you guys today. So with that well-rounded kind of view of education that I kind of mentioned that we got from the Honors College, I've had an opportunity to use that with my students and players that I've coached in the last 4 years. Here's some pictures of some well-roundedness we tried to promote in our soccer team. A lot of these kids had never left their hometown and certainly had never done some of the things we did. So we took them down to a soccer tournament. And if you ever played sports or have been around anything like that, a lot of times when you go to soccer tournaments or any sort of tournament, you go to the tournament and then you like go to main event or something and have a good time. Yeah, okay, and I got some head nods. That's good. Yeah, that's what people typically do. And I was like, hey, let's try to take this a little bit further. Let's do something fun, but let's try to give them maybe some learning experiences with this. And so we took them to the Pacific War Museum down in Fredericksburg and made them walk around there and did a reenactment stuff. And it was awesome. We took them to the Auslander, which is a German restaurant. And my soccer players were very confused about what schnitzel was. And we all got to experience it together. And that was a great time. And we climbed Enchanted Rock. If you've ever been down to Fredericksburg area and got to do that. But these are just a few examples of things that I took from the Honors College to a career that is not really in academia or what I probably initially planned to do, but it really helps me a lot just having that view of a well-rounded education. So like I said, I owe a lot to the Honors College and Dr. Clifford and my professors that I had through it. And so it's just an honor to be back. So question for you, I am going to call people out. You're a lot nicer than I'm going to be. So who's the worst teacher you ever had? Okay, I know someone came to mind immediately. I got mine. I have a really bad nickname for her. The worst teacher you ever had. Who wants to share? Yeah.
I had a math teacher.
You can say their name. It's okay. We don't know. Yeah.
I don't know what her first name was, but her last name was Tico.
Yeah.
And she yelled at me a lot for just picking up a pencil that I dropped on the ground. So I was like, picking up a pencil. I have to write my notes. If you want me to write my notes while you're telling me about what I need to know, I need to pick up my pencil. So don't yell at me when I pick it up.
That's fair. Anybody else? Worst teacher ever. Really hate this person. Yeah.
Mr. Martinez, he taught Spanish and he accused me of putting a dead rabbit in his mailbox. And I told him if I knew where he lived, I would.
That's okay. That's good to follow that away. Just don't cross. That's good. So now who's the best teacher you ever had? Okay. I don't know if that one's quite as always the one you hate is easy to remember. Best one you ever had, maybe hard to pick from anybody that hasn't shared yet today. Want to go out best teacher ever?
Mrs. Bradshaw,
Okay.
Granbury High School, she was my English teacher.
What made her great?
She was a dual credit, but she was very caring to her students and she made you want to learn English. And her class was so difficult, but the way she taught it, she made it easier on us because of how engaged she was in what she was doing.
Anybody else?
I have two. I have my English teacher who's actually a PHP grad when I was in high school, and then my history teacher. And both of them were fantastic teachers, but they both helped prepare us beyond what high school was. So we played with stock markets in my history class because we dipped into economics a little bit. But then my English teacher helped us prepare, actually applying for the Honors College and looking into colleges and building resumes and an academic resume so you could just see attached on scholarships. So anyways, they were fantastic, but those are my favorite.
That's awesome. Thank you guys all for sharing. So next question is, what separates your best teacher ever from your worst teacher ever? What's the difference between the two? That may take a little bit longer. Think about it. What is the difference between the best and the worst?
Lack of connection between students.
That's great. Any other ideas?
A passion for what they do and giving that passion to the students they teach.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, so that's kind of the basis of this, talk is gonna be K through 12 education. That's the field I chose to get into. I taught sophomores, juniors, seniors, freshmen, the whole level at the high school. I student taught with middle schoolers. Now I'm actively spending my days with sixth graders. And so, it's been the full meal deal for me. And so it's a passion for me. You talked about, your perfect job. I may not have one for you. I got one, and it's an education for sure. I absolutely love it. And so what separates the best from your worst, I think you guys both kind of hit it. And I think we can narrow it down to this: they care a lot. And that's what makes exceptional educators, is people that care a lot about their students, not necessarily about math or their content or whatnot, but about you, getting you into college, helping you write those essays and apply for things. That's the difference, right? And so what I want to talk about is a few pros and cons of K through 12 education, and we're going to talk about kind of how we deal with those pros and cons as educators. I don't think any of you were planning on getting into education, but maybe I'll change your mind today. Mine was changed when I was a freshman in college, so there's still time. Okay. Pros and cons of K-12 education. We're going to start with the pros, because I like to be a positive person whenever possible. Okay. The best feeling I've ever felt in the entire world, right behind marrying my wife, and hearing we're expecting a child and thank you. Yeah. So in July. So second behind marrying my wife and hearing my unborn child's heartbeat is student success. Okay. You have a student that doesn't get something, and you're working with them. Okay, Johnny, 2 + 2 is 4, and they don't get it, and it takes time and time and time, and finally that light bulb clicks for that student, and there's nothing like it. No, I've never done drugs, and I don't ever plan to, but I can't imagine a more euphoric high than that, is seeing a kid get something. It's amazing. So parental involvement, man. When you got parents that are excited and they want to be a part of education, it can be a real blessing. Seeing former students, I had a chance. Me and my wife got pizza yesterday at Little Caesars in Alvarado, Texas, and I walked in the building, and one of my former soccer players, who's still in school, so he's kind of doing both. He hey coach, and I was like, hey Tony, how's it going, man? Oh, it's good. And we chatted for a little bit while he was getting me my cheesy bread, and I said, hey, how much does it cost? He goes, hey coach, I got you. You go ahead, I got you, coach. And like it's such a nice thing. I know it's really shocking. I can't, he's risking his job maybe to give me a $12 pizza. Like it's crazy, but that's the kind of connection you can get with students. And when you're a coach or a teacher, it's amazing. Teammates. I have some of the best teammates ever. Have been on the admin team I'm currently on. They're great people, and I've taught with some of them before I was on this admin team, and they're just great people. And so having those teammates, and you got to have them anywhere, but specifically in education, it's vital, or you won't survive. And then I think that the reason why I changed, I was a pre-med person. I was in that building right over there, sitting in a chemistry class in October of 2015, and I thought to myself, this sucks. Like, I hate this. I don't want to do this for the rest of I don't want to go to med school. This is not what I enjoy. And I realized that there was another way to make a difference than, being an eye doctor. I have really bad vision. That's why my font's so big. I appreciate the people that sit in the back and can't see. So I want to be an eye doctor. Like, hey, I'm going to make a difference in that way. And I realized that I can do it a little bit differently, still make a huge impact on people, and I don't have to go to chemistry class anymore. So that was kind of my thing. Okay, so some pros. These aren't all the pros. There's plenty. These are just some highlights for me. Okay, now the cons. You may notice not many of them changed. Okay, so working in K-12 education, the cons: student behavior. As an assistant principal, it's basically all I do now with my life, and it can be challenging because sixth graders. I don't know if you all recall what you were like when you were 11 and 12. Thankfully, I don't, because I don't really want to know what I was like. But these kids, man, it can.
Challenging.
I'm trying to think of one story I could tell that would be humorous, and there's just too many, and it's shocking. Anyway, parental involvement. It was a pro. It's also a con. Yesterday, had a young man who had an incident with another student. We were informed about it. We investigated, addressed the concern, sent the other kid to SAC. Shame, you can't do that to that kid. I called this kid's dad and say, hey, little Johnny had this happen to him, and we fixed it. We gave the other kid a consequence. Can't tell you what that is, but this is what we did. And then he screamed at me for 20 minutes on the phone about how I didn't care about his kid and I wasn't doing enough for his kid. Negative, right? Like, that would be a negative. Now, over here it was a positive, right? Sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're not. Seeing the former students. Sometimes going to Little Caesars is a good thing for me. Sometimes going to Sonic and Alvarado is not, okay? I walk in, I see a particular student in the back, I'm like, oh, are they gonna spit in my food this time? Or was it last time? Cause they like to alternate, you know, but I just try to make sure I know which one it is so I can throw it away. So like, you know, not always good, right? Teammates, sometimes, and you all know this, sometimes teammates aren't what they need to be and it can be challenging. And then I think that opportunity to make a difference, I was kind of like, man, should I keep this as a con? Cause I don't really know if that's true, but it really can be. The weight of the opportunity that you have to make a difference as an educator can be extreme, okay? That child's life is in your hands. So my father it's got this guy, we'll go back this way. This guy, okay, he's got a doctorate in education. He comes to Tarleton stuff a lot. You may have seen him. He actually get an award in a few weeks at the gala that's coming up, so good for him. I had to get a tux the other day because of it. So this guy, he has a doctorate in education. And one day when I was in high school, I said, you know, Dad, I think I want to be a doctor. He was like, oh, you know, like me. And I was like, no, Dad, I want to be one of those doctors that helps people. Okay.
Real doctor.
Yeah, I want to be a real doctor. Yeah. And he loves telling this story. So, you know, if you ask him, he'd probably still tell you. So, like, I want to be a real doctor. And he kind of took offense to that. And now he tells every time we have a district, he's a superintendent at the district that I work at. And he always tells us every time he can, he'll to embarrass me. So he was right, okay? Teachers, educators, we have such an opportunity and an obligation to make a difference. And that can be really heavy. You know, like I'm staring at these sixth grader and I'm like, hey, if I don't hold him accountable for his actions, is he going to 6 years from now be in jail because he did something really that was not a good idea, right? And can I somehow curb that now? And it's a really heavy weight, and it's very challenging to kind of bear that as an educator. So pros and cons, we're going to talk about how does one cope with this emotional roller coaster that can be education, okay? And I had my mother's also an educator look over this PowerPoint. She made me put some, she was upset at my lack of graphics. So I said, okay, Mom, I'll put a roller coaster in there and look, all of the people will love it. So how do we cope with this? And so there's two things that I like to do to help cope with this, or I think I like to do that I try to remember. And the first thing is to remember your why, okay? What made you, and I think that these apply to everything, not just education. And so I think that that's why I wanted to share them today. I think that it's relevant to no matter what you're doing, whether it's when I mow the yard, I gotta remember why I'm doing this or I'm not gonna make it through, right? So you gotta remember your why and then know what you're for, which comes from a book, and I'll just chat briefly about that. So what is your why? When I was a freshman and I was in that, I can take you to the room if you want to see it. In that room when I had that epiphany that pre-med wasn't for me anymore. What made me think that? Why is that? Why did I want to switch to education? What gets me out of bed in the morning? Is it helping sixth graders not go to SAC? And maybe it is. Is it helping them make better decisions and improving their life down the road? Is it helping them get out of their current situation and that rut that their family's been in for generations and hopefully getting them out of that crap and into a better place? That's usually what it is, right? So that understanding what that is and remembering that, constantly reminding yourself. I have it written in my office so that I can look at it after I have to tell a kid that what they did was wrong and they have 3 days of SAC. I can look back and say, hey, this is why I'm doing this. It's not always fun. That dad yelled at me for 20 minutes yesterday because I helped this kid out, just not like he wanted me to. And I had to remember, why am I doing this? Like, this is not always great. It sucks kind of like, why? It's always my thing. My wife doesn't like when I ask her that, but I need to ask myself that as much as I can. So for educators, it's got to be students. If you ever change your mind, if you guys there are still students, or if there are educators in here, it's got to be about students. If it's not, the job is too difficult. You're not going to make it. Okay, it's not possible. Okay, got to care about students. Like we talked about our best teachers. What was the difference? They cared. The other ones, they weren't any good because they were too worried about you picking up a pencil to actually give a crap about your education, right? Like that's no good. It's not helpful. You got to care about students. Okay. Now the second thing is to know what you're for. Okay, this is a book by Jeff Henderson. Really short, really quick read. If you're trying to do like a 52 books in a year challenge, I recommend this one. You'll finish it in a day. Great book, and I'll spare you buying it and reading it and tell you that there's two questions he encourages you to ask yourself, okay? The first one is, what do you want to be known for? And so if I'm an IO psychology, what do I want to be known for? Do I want to be known as a great academic person who's teaching others, okay? If I'm going to be a pediatric nurse in the ER, that sounds terrifying. My wife was a nurse for 2 years and she got into education as fast as she could. Like, what do I want to be known for in that? Do I want to be caring? Do I want to be nurturing? Do I want to be efficient? You know, like what do I want to be known for? And then once you figure that out, in whatever field you are, you ask yourself, what are you known for? And so like in my current role as an assistant principal, what do I want to be known for? Maybe patience is probably what I want to be known for. I know that's not it right now, but patience is a big thing. Some empathy is a big thing. I want to really be known for that, but I also want to be known as holding kids accountable for teachers. You got to support and you got to balance that as an administrator. So like, what do I want to be known for? You got to figure that out. Whatever field you are, you got to figure it out. And then you got to ask yourself, am I known for that? And when you realize that you might not be, you got to be willing to bridge that gap. Okay, I want to be known for this. Patience. This is where my current patience level is at. How do I bridge that gap and get myself to where I want to be in the long run? Okay. So that's, I think, personally, how you cope with the roller coaster of education is reminding yourself your why and then figuring out what you want to be known for and how you can get there if you're not. And I think that applies to everything. Okay, now some of my favorite life advice I've been given, and these are all things people have told me. Okay, so just bear with me. So the first thing is people don't care what you know until they know what you care. You can, I've looked up who said that. Dr. Estes says it to me a lot. That's my dad. He says it all the time. John Wooden wrote a book with a similar title. There's Theodore Roosevelt was credited with it in some things. There's a lot of people have been credited with saying this, but I think it's so true. Just like as y'all, we've all been students in this room. You didn't care what that teacher thought until you knew they cared about you. You knew they were willing to do that stuff for you. You knew they cared. They were willing to help you with things. They really pushed you, and it was difficult. So it wasn't easy, but you knew they cared. And so now you care what they know, and you can start gleaning that advice from them. Right? That's a big thing. The former track coach at Alvarado High School, her name's Melinda Malone. She's a godly person, awesome lady. She told me one day, never say something to a student that you would not say with their parents in the room. And I think that saved me many times, especially in soccer practices, from saying something that could get me in a little bit of trouble or a lot of trouble. I don't know. I'm not always the most patient, right? So again, keeping that in mind. And if you ever are with students, more for educators, but still. And then F the haters. Now, I like to say forget, so I don't know what you were thinking just then when you guys chuckled, but forget the haters is such a big thing, okay? Like, you're never gonna make everybody happy. I had a few people kind of look over this presentation before, I decided to stick with it and not change what I was doing, and they all had different opinions and told me I did something wrong here or wrong there, and in the end, like, you gotta go with your gut, and you gotta be confident with the decision you make, whether it's in whatever field you choose, you gotta be confident with it, and you're not gonna make everybody happy, so get over it. Okay, they can get over it too. If they don't, then you probably don't need them. And then Christian, I put F the haters in a Bible verse. So
Balance.
yeah, you gotta have that's that worldview honors college. This is what it taught me. So Dr. Clifford specifically, Dr. Clifford, home life. Anyway, so Galatians 6:9, it's a verse that I really lean on, especially when I was going through school, was don't grow tired of doing good, and due time you're going to reap if you don't give up. And that is a very rough translation by Estes, so you may go check your Bible if you have one and make sure that's what it says, but it's something like that, okay? And it's really reassuring to me, like, hey, in the long run, if you keep getting after it, things are going to go your way. And if they don't, then it's all good. So anyway, I know I talk really fast. People always give me a hard time. I had to do a presentation for fifth graders, our incoming sixth grade class last week, and my principal was in the back like, I was like, no, I can't. I'm so excited. We gotta talk about this. These are the rules, so it's tough for me. So thanks for bearing with me in the speed. So thanks. And if you want to reach out or anything, have any questions or whatever, that's there too. So.
So we'll open it up for questions. At 3 o'clock, we kind of are gonna adjourn into the lobby area. There'll be cookies and punch there, so we can mingle. But if y'all have questions for our lunch right now, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We're all looking at Janet. So I always have a question from you guys. You're in a certain area, and I think it's psychology here, right? Okay. So what were your favorite classes outside of your degree program while you were here?
Anatomy,
Why did you
physiology.
like them?
Anatomy and physiology with Steve. Is Steve still here?
No,
Steve.
he retired.
McReynolds.
Yeah. His
Definitely.
ponytail is still here.
Yeah. Oh man. I really liked anatomy and physiology. If I thought when I was younger, I thought I might be a doctor. So I really liked anatomy and physiology. I thought he was a really good teacher to teach something that can be kind of difficult and complex. And I was a supplemental instructor for anatomy and physiology, and I even got the opportunity to teach a lab as an undergrad, but they like ran out of grad students or something, and so I got to also not one lab, like I was the instructor of record for the lab. So that was really cool. So yeah, definitely anatomy and physiology. Right now, psychology.
I feel like since my degree was in political science, that's basically all I took with a few education courses, so it all kind of was a part, but and not just because Dr. Falkenberry's in here, but I took Dr. Falkenberry's gen psych class and just loved that, enjoyed it a ton, and enjoyed him and his teaching method, and so that I enjoyed that. That's still kind of part of the degree, but you can tell him I said that. I know I told him already, so he should know, but
He will be prepared.
he's got a lot of students, he'll forgive me, it's okay.
He apologizes for not being here today. He wanted to see both of you, but he's in New Mexico giving a presentation down there, so that's awesome. Well, that was yesterday.
So you got your masters here,
Yes, sir.
so when are you coming back for a doctorate?
Soon, I was gonna apply last summer, but didn't know, or like last spring, as April 1st was the deadline. And I got my position on April 2nd, and so I wasn't gonna do it if I was still coaching, and so that was, that stuff, but now we're expecting a child, so I don't know,
That's perfect time.
is it a good
It's
time?
really
Is it?
a good time
Okay,
to
well,
Baby, it gets you out of the house.
y'all tell Mrs. Estes that, and I have no problem, I love the idea, the plan is to do it soon.
You know, we're starting a PhD in the fall, right?
I did not know
And
that.
that's leadership, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And my wife has her master's in education too, she's curriculum and
They actually
instruction, so.
both start at the same time.
Right, that's what, and my sister
That's
wants to
a
do it
perfect-
too, it's a whole family thing, yeah.
But-
We'll see if she says I can or not. Then we'll see.
All online now.
I didn't know that, so Israel Stevens is, he's in the program now, and he's one of my mentors, the operator.
I work a lot with your dad. And
Right.
work with your mom.
Right.
And the department.
And my mom was a professor at Tarleton before she retired, now she does nothing, other than proofread my stuff, so, and Dr. Estes stuff, the other Dr. Estes.
You said your mom does nothing?
But proofread our things, and basically, yeah.
You know it's recorded.
Oh, yeah, she knows that. I told her, I told her, I was calling her, like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing? Okay, yeah. I figured. She truly doesn't. She's actually planning our baby shower probably this exact moment, so, she's doing great.
So I wanna know from Cheryle, are you ever on search committees at university? And do they like having you on there, and do they rely on you for that
I don't think
selection
they
placement?
fully appreciate my expertise. Because they don't, I think even there, they still don't really know what IO psychology is. But occasionally, I'll come out with something, I'll be like, wow, that makes a lot of sense, that. I'm like, yeah, that's what IO psychologists do. Like, that's-
This is kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I was late. I missed where are you?
I'm at Angelo State University.
I'm in the lab.
Cool.
For my bachelor's and master's. Awesome. It's a great, yeah.
Well, I have a question. I hate for all of the non-students to be asking questions.
Marshall probably has a good question.
Yes.
Already picked on us. Carson already told.
I did talk earlier. I'd say I have a question for Dr. Stenmark. When it comes to fixed versus growth mindsets, and like specifically when it comes to quality of work life and being better organized, getting like appraisal for good performance, how would you suggest people fix their mindsets to be better? And if someone were to appraise them, they would receive better.
In education, you may know better about fixed versus growth mindset. I would say like in general, just recognizing that like the fixed versus growth mindset, I think at work would be just to like you never reach the end, like there's always room for growth, there's always room for development. And if they were to receive negative feedback, I mean, that's a whole thing too, giving feedback. We teach managers like how to give good feedback and how to give frequent feedback. So probably actually I would start with the manager and help the leader in this situation, supervisor, to give frequent feedback, to give both positive and negative feedback. A lot of times managers only give you feedback, they only tell you something about your performance when you've done something bad. So making sure that people know throughout, a year or whatever your performance evaluation period is, helping them to know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, what they can improve upon, so that when it actually gets to the formal performance evaluation, I mean, really, there shouldn't be any surprises at that point for anyone. But then the point of that is to make a record of, the performance evaluation, because in general, the informal stuff, there's probably no record of that. And then I think if the manager has a good relationship, obviously with IO psychologists would want to make sure that the managers have a good relationship with their subordinates, so that they, everybody can be transparent and open and feel comfortable getting constructive feedback, negative feedback, and feeling like it's not like a judgment against them personally. It's like, these are some things that you can improve on, and hopefully, like, here's how you can improve, some tools to help you develop, things like that. So almost I would say it's more the responsibility of the manager than the subordinate, but definitely anybody I think benefit from feeling like, I've never reached my perfect performance, and just kind of welcoming feedback for how they did and what they kept on. That was a very good question.
Thank you. Well, I did have one question. I would love to hear your thoughts. In the IO psychology world, we share salary levels and in a roundabout way where you aren't where you've chosen to be, that brings you fulfillment. And you said you had what you think is a dream job at this time. And compared to what you'd be making as a medical doctor, I don't know what APs make in Alvarado ISD, but it's probably a little less.
It's not enough. Is it recorded? Is that what you're saying? Not enough. We'll send it to them later.
I think a lot of times those majors, those occupations, professions are chosen based upon salaries, and that's not going to always result in fulfillment or happiness or the best fit. How did you decide to do what you do, and what would you say to students that are making some of those decisions when parents and the world is saying, man, make money, make money, make money?
Sure. I think that for me, I always wanted to help people. That was kind of my mindset. So that's why I thought I wanted to be an eye doctor. So I felt like I could really make an impact helping people in that field. And there's a really good quote by Billy Graham that says that coaches are going to reach more people in a year than any regular position is going to reach in a lifetime. And so I read that quote while I was sitting in that science classroom. I was like, I'm done. This is it. And so just knowing that that's at the core of what I want to do is to help people. And so as a teacher and a coach, I got to help a finite amount. I had 120 students, roughly about 90 athletes. I could really focus on every year. And so moving into this new role this year has been different. Now I have 850 middle school students that are on campus that I can have an immediate impact on every single day. And so I think that's what it's all about, at least for me, is hopefully making a positive impact on the lives of Alvarado, community, the Alvarado community in general, and specifically the students that I serve.
For me, I found out that I liked teaching here by being a supplemental instructor, and also I did tutoring. And also I think even in my work as an RA, like helping the residents in the residence halls. So I discovered that teaching is what I wanted to do, and I like the teaching lifestyle better than the consulting lifestyle of traveling 5 days a week and coming home on weekends. And definitely that trade-off in money was worth it for me, in addition to really liking teaching. But even within teaching in IO psychology, with a degree in IO psychology, you can get a job in a business school, a business college, or you can get a job in a psychology department. And literally the business school starts at twice the salary as the psychology department. And then in terms of that, it's a culture fit. I think I'm more of a psychology person. I like research and I like behavior. And that's definitely more me. It's also certainly more laid back, casual, informal, than a business school. So I chose the less lucrative position in multiple different ways, but it's where I'm meant to be, even though I know I said don't think of it that way, but for me, that I feel like I'm in the perfect place.
So it's 3. I know you were gonna head back right after, so if we could get a picture of y'all, Dr. Sloan and Dr. Falconberry, then we'll release y'all, but you can stay for cookies and punch.
Never turned out.
Never turned out. I'll each get one. You may have more Charles and stuff than anyone I've ever met, probably.
I want to do picture in here.